Hi there. This is 21 and 21, a rapid-fire Q&A show filmed at Presidio Bitcoin, the Bay Area's first Bitcoin co-working and event space. I'm Haley Burko, and I ask guests who stop by Presidio Bitcoin 21 questions in 21 minutes. We do our best to get through them all, but it's okay if we don't. Our guest today is Niftynei. She's a longtime Lightning veteran, Bitcoin educator, and master conference organizer. Be sure to check out Bitcoin++, her worldwide series of developer conferences. Nifty, welcome to Presidio Bitcoin.
Hey, Haley. It's really great to be here. Congrats on the space opening.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you could come visit.
Yeah, me too.
So I have my stop clock right over here.
Okay.
When I press the button, it's go time.
Let's go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do this. So what brings you to Presidio Bitcoin?
I'm here for the launch event. So you guys just opened up the new space here, and I wanted to come celebrate with the community about having your first co-working Bitcoiner space in SF.
Thank you so much for coming.
Really good.
What are you working on today?
Today, I'm working on the next Bitcoin++ events. So we just finished our first event of the year. We're doing 6 this year. It's double the events we did last year. We're going to be in 6 different countries. Just finished Brazil, but I've got 5 more amazing events to pull off this year. So I'm working on pulling in sponsors, speakers, volunteers, venues, etc. for the upcoming events.
Busy.
Yeah, it's really great though.
Why is this important to Bitcoin's future?
Bitcoin++? Oh man. Okay. So one way I think about my projects, and Bitcoin++ is no exception, is interfaces. Like how do you interface between different communities, or how do you get into Bitcoin, right? And I like to think of Bitcoin++ as a really important interface, both for people already in the industry to come and present their work and their projects to an audience of people that care about it and want to see what they're up to. It's also a great interface for people that are developers that want to learn, or, VCs, investors, people who want to know what technical, brilliant minds are working on in Bitcoin. So I think it's a really important, and we do it internationally, which I think is really important because Bitcoin is such a decentralized international project. And so we're creating kind of this string or series of events where people get to show off what they're making and maybe make new connections, grow their projects, et cetera.
And how did you become a Bitcoiner?
Great question. I became a Bitcoiner because I got hired to work as an engineer on a Bitcoin project at Cash App in 2018. I knew about Bitcoin. I had friends that were into it. I never got into it until I actually got hired and read Mastering Bitcoin on the job and was like, this is so cool. So I bought my first Bitcoin on the Cash App and I've never really looked back.
Love it. What are you currently most excited about in Bitcoin and why?
Oh, man. Okay. What am I most excited about? I'm excited about the events I'm running, mostly because I get to hang out with all the amazing friends that I have in Bitcoin that are working on cool stuff. It's always really fun to hang out with Bitcoiners. I think they're some of the smartest and most interesting people in the tech space today. So I'm really excited about our events. I'm also really excited about Cluster Mempool. So I'm hoping we'll get to really feature and talk to people about this new protocol change coming to non-consensus part of Bitcoin, Mempool. And that's really important for projects like Lightning and lots of other layer 2 stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the mempool that's been updated and changed. So we're going to be featuring all those new spec protocol changes and how they impact projects in layer 2s in Austin, May 7th to 9th. So yeah, excited about that stuff.
Awesome. What do you consider the most Bitcoin project in Bitcoin?
The most Bitcoin project. Okay, this seems tough because it's like, what is Bitcoin? And then what is the most Bitcoin? The current working project. I feel like saying Bitcoin Core is not cheating, but kind of cheating because it's that's obviously the most Bitcoin project. But I think the people working and maintaining Bitcoin Core are doing some of the hardest work in the space. A lot of the projects that people are working on are refactoring or maintenance or CI pipeline or testing, like the fuzz testing that Bruno Garcia down at Vinteum is doing, I think is really important stuff. So yeah, I think the maintenance and projects around Bitcoin Core is the most Bitcoin project. Yeah.
So let's fast forward to the future, a grim one.
Okay.
And Bitcoin has failed.
Interesting.
How did it fail?
Oh, okay. This is interesting. Bitcoin has failed. Why did it fail? The network fell over, would be my thing. Why did the network fall over? I think the network fell over because there was some aspect of, I think we made changes to Bitcoin that caused the incentives to get messed up. And the change in incentives broke the reasons why everyone came and participated in Bitcoin in the first place. I like to say that one of the most, I think Satoshi was a genius. And I don't think that necessarily because of his coding skills, though he's obviously like in the top whatever percent of programmers. I think that what Satoshi managed to do with the Bitcoin protocol is like the first really incredible amount of incentive engineering. He managed to set up a system where decentralized participants all are pulling in the same direction and working together to continue to make this system work, but doing it for selfish reasons. And so every time a proposal comes up that kind of wants to change things in Bitcoin that has the potential to change how the incentives are structured, I'm like, are we as smart as Satoshi? Like, are we thinking about this as simplistically and holistically as he was able to with the first protocol design? So I think there's a lot of caution and care to be taken when we're dealing with anything that might change how incentives in Bitcoin work.
We kind of just answered this, but maybe expand on how we can mitigate the risks to this failure.
Oh, man. Okay, this is a hard one. I think it's a hard one because it's really hard to see whenever you make a change to Bitcoin what the net impacts of that are going to be. And this can happen even at I think at the layer of, again, our upcoming conference is about mining pool design stuff. So it's more on my mind than recently. But the way that, we build software for miners of how they get paid out in Bitcoin, one of the things that people talk about a lot is something called FPPS, which is, I don't know what it stands for, but it's like payment per share. The reason that miners really like it is that it makes their payouts more stable. One of the downsides of it is it makes mining more centralized because in order to financialize that sort of payment to miners, you need access to capital, right? So it creates a problem where mining becomes a lot more centralized. And that sort of thing it's not like we changed Bitcoin. It's not like the Bitcoin protocol changed that made that kind of emerge. It emerged because miners have an incentive to make sure they can keep the lights on, right? So I give that an example of it might not even be making changes to the Bitcoin protocol that we have to watch out for. I don't know. I don't know how you prevent it. I think you just have to be careful and really think about the network effects of any kinds of incentives and why people are mining and that sort of thing. So no, I don't have an easy answer. I think it's hard. Maybe just being mindful of it and recognizing it's a risk is a good first step. Yeah.
So as we know, Bitcoin is quite volatile. How do we get people to use Bitcoin more as a currency despite this volatility?
I think that's a really hard one. So Bitcoin Plus is a really Bitcoin first business. We get a lot of our sponsorships are paid in Bitcoin. Our hackathon prizes are all paid in Bitcoin. When I'm running events all over the world, I use Bitcoin to help me make payments around the world. So it's really how Bitcoin Plus is able to survive and exist and be as international as it is. And, price just went down a bunch. That's hard. I've got bills I got to pay, for venues and speakers and flights for things. So I don't have an easy answer to that one. It does take, I think, a real commitment to Bitcoin as money. And Bitcoin is such an amazing time-saving tool for the work that we're doing and being able to run all these events that using, there is no other option, so it's I'm locked into Bitcoin because that's what makes the work that we do possible. I really think, unfortunately, that's the answer to how do people use Bitcoin is it's the obvious choice for the project they're trying to run, right? And then the volatility risk just becomes something that you have to manage because using Bitcoin is the option that's available. I don't know how to scale that to everyone, but yeah, that's my answer.
What's your most controversial Bitcoin opinion?
Oh, no. Oh, I don't know. Most controversial Bitcoin opinion. I feel I don't know which of my opinions are controversial. I feel the one that I feel I sometimes, unfortunately, seem to make people unhappy with is there's been a lot of work on mempool, I know this is mempool stuff. Again, thinking about a lot because, well, it's a really important topic, but also we're doing an event about it soon. One of the things that I'm a big proponent of, so there's been a lot of work to add something that are called ephemeral anchors and V3 transactions to Bitcoin. Huge amount of effort, really important project. There's another kind of proposal from Peter Todd called replace by fee rate. I'm a huge replace by fee rate fan. And I think that is would be an incredible upgrade. Again, I think in terms of interfaces, I think as an interface, that's just the most amazing way to, one, keep miners, like make it such that people who want to pay more for transactions have access to paying more for transactions in a simple, easy to understand way. And it makes it such that miners get paid more because people that want to pay more to get their transactions mined have a clear, simple, easy to understand like recipe for doing that. So I don't know if that's most controversial, but I definitely feel like it definitely is contrarian to a lot of what the effort of people currently on Bitcoin Core are working for. So yeah, I like that as an interface. If we could get that interface, that would make me happy. Also, I wrote a protocol that kind of assumes that replace by fee rate exists for Lightning, and it doesn't exist. So anyways, it's like, yeah.
Well, you read my mind for the next question.
Oh, no.
Leans into it. What's a dream project that you would love to see other Bitcoiners build?
Oh, man. Okay. What is a dream project? Oh, this is totally like personal stuff, but I spent a lot of time making like a really amazing data warehouse for accounting data on Core Lightning. And one dev has been working on making a dashboard for it, but I think there's another project called Clams Project. They've got some of the best accounting software for Bitcoin, and they started as building like a front end for all this data warehouse that I built. They've expanded to cover a lot of other Bitcoin projects. You know, you get data from a bunch of other projects, but it's built on all that work that I did. So maybe this is a note for me to like spend more time looking at Clams these days, but I wish more people were building really awesome like dashboards and interfaces for accounting data, because there's a great data warehouse on Core Lightning that already exists. I don't know. That's a really selfish answer, but.
What's your perfect Sunday?
My perfect Sunday, oh man, I had a perfect Sunday last week Sunday.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was right after Bitcoin Plus Plus, and we were in Brazil. It's February now, which means it's the peak of summer. We were at this really beautiful place in Brazil called Florianopolis, which is south and has some of the most beautiful beaches I've ever been on. There's a good crew of us from the event and who were there at 1 extra day or 2 extra days, and we went to the beach and did a barbecue on the beach.
Oh.
That was a perfect Sunday. I hung out, played in the water. The sand was like perfect. It was such a high silica content that when you walked on it, it would squeak. It's like this perfect, powdery, beautiful sand. The water was the perfect temperature. It was just the right amount of sun. Yeah, it was perfect Sunday.
That sounds absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
What do you think the best way is for companies to support the Bitcoin open source ecosystem?
Use it. Use the ecosystem. Like, use the Bitcoin stuff. Contribute back. Like, I feel like, one of the biggest things that the ecosystem needs, and one of the reasons that, Bitcoin Plus Plus, and then also, another project that hasn't gotten as much of my time is Base 58 about teaching people how the protocol works. Open source needs users, and it needs users who care enough about the project that when they find problems, they try and fix them and contribute back, right? So I think if we have more companies that are using the software firsthand, if their hands dirty with it, and then allow their devs and engineers the time and the latitude to fix problems that they find. I mean, even contributing issues and bug reports is so helpful for the Core Lightning project. Our project got 10 times better when Bolt started running a really big node on Core Lightning, right? Because all of a sudden we got to see all the problems that they were having. And Michael from Bolt's, shout out to Michael. He's an amazing developer who really cares about, making the project better. And he's been pushing the team at Core Lightning to improve all the things for him to run a huge enterprise node, right? And I don't think Core Lightning is alone in that. So yeah, if you're a business and you're building on Bitcoin, use the tools, put effort into, I think, making your team use this stuff, because otherwise, that's how it gets better, I think.
Do you think that institutional investment determines whether Bitcoin becomes the planet's preferred currency?
No, I don't. I think people transacting with Bitcoin amongst each other is what determines if Bitcoin becomes a currency or not. And Bitcoin money moves between people that want to transact with each other, right? So the most important thing, I think, is for Bitcoiners to transact with each other in Bitcoin and to offer that to everyone else that they do business with, that they're willing to pay them in Bitcoin. I think that's how Bitcoin grows and expands.
What do you think the role of stablecoins should be?
I don't think about stablecoins at all. I don't know what their role is, and it's not something that I'm thinking about.
What's happening today that gives you the most hope for Bitcoin's future?
What's happening today? I like seeing, so I'm really excited about the developer projects and programs that are happening in the US, but in other parts to bring new developers into Bitcoin. Vinteum is a nonprofit that's based in Brazil. They just ran their first ever Bitcoin developer launchpad, which I got to go help out with. They have like 20 or 30 new devs, all Brazilians, who all came to Bitcoin Plus Plus then and contributed to the hackathon. Liberated Satoshi is a really amazing project that's running something called Bitcoin for Open Source. They just did their first residency program in November. We had a bunch of them at Bitcoin Plus Plus that contributed to new projects in the space. Some of them are now helping out this new Winoster project called White Noise. So I'm really, really bullish on these developer programs that are bringing people in, teaching them about how Bitcoin works, and then bringing them to Bitcoin Plus Plus to find really great new projects to contribute to.
Well, expanding on that a bit, who are some of your favorite Bitcoiners in the space right now?
Some of my favorite Bitcoiners in the space. Oh, wow. Okay. I hate to pick favorites.
If you just want to give someone a shout.
A shout out. I think Russel is like my OG. I mean, he is the one who basically made sure that I was able to get into Lightning and Bitcoin and work on open source. So he's one of my favorites. I also think he's one of my favorite thinkers. Rusty thinks in interfaces also, especially at the code level. And when he's building software, he's going to keep working on it until he gets it right in terms of how you're going to interface with it, how it's going to work on the back end. And it's really amazing that Bitcoin has people with that level of dedication and skill working on building and improving on the projects that we all get to access because they're open source.
So Opcat, like, dislike?
I like Opcat. I don't like the conversation around it. I don't like the way that it's being discussed in terms of like, this is our only option, if that makes sense. So I think it's cool. I think it's useful. I think it's extremely inefficient, and that as engineers, we can do better.
I have 3 more questions.
Great.
How do you think that we can convince the ordinary people, like our moms and dads, that Bitcoin is in fact safe?
I think the sad truth about thinking about when you say safe, I assume you mean from like a ability of holding it, using it, investing in it. I think that Bitcoin is one of those things, and I was no exception to this, that you really don't get it until you have another person hold your hand and help you figure it out. I think it's really hard to do mass online education about Bitcoin and make people really get it. I think holding it yourself is kind of a scary thing, and that unfortunately, it is going to be a grassroots network, person-by-person transmission. So if you're looking for a way to get involved in Bitcoin, you're a Bitcoiner, you like holding your Bitcoin, I think the biggest thing you can do for your community is to start maybe like Tupperware parties or like just making it more accessible to your friend groups is something that you help them like get their first wallet and hold it themselves. Because I think that's really the only way that we get over that. Yeah.
What advice would you give to people who are either new to the Bitcoin space or thinking about jumping in?
I think the most important thing for making sure that you stay engaged, if you want to stay involved in Bitcoin, is showing up, finding people, making friends in the space that their values are aligned with what you want to see in the world. I think that's what kind of keeps Bitcoin together and moving in the same direction, is that we all, especially on the developers, like all kind of want the same things. And so that helps us build in the same direction. So if you're new to the space, come to an event. If you're technical, come to Bitcoin Plus Plus. We've got a lot of events all over the world, and hopefully you'll find one that maybe speaks to the particular industry or part of Bitcoin that you're interested in learning more about.
So last question. If you could leave our listeners with a single thought about Bitcoin, what would it be?
Oh, okay. I have a crazy thought. Okay. When you think about like, okay, this might take longer than the time we have, but I'm gonna do my best. One thing that Bitcoiners talk a lot about is AIs, right? And AI risk is a real thing. I think that if an AI was to build a system that was had incentives that made humans like start taking things in the real world and putting them towards that computing system, you would end up with something like Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is like an incentive protocol that has figured out how to make humans like change how they do heat production, build new energy resources, like produce millions of more computers. And so People who in AI talk a lot about how difficult and risky, like what is AI risks, like what an AI in charge might end up with. I think the answer might be Bitcoin, and we already have it, and it's great. And Satoshi made it to invent it, and I think that it's going to. I think that investing in Bitcoin and building on Bitcoin is going to really help build out the energy that we need as humans for the next century or whatever of change and growth technologically.
Well, you did absolutely great. We got through all 21 questions in just about 21 minutes. So great job with that.
Yeah, thanks, Haley.
So Nifty, where can our listeners find more about you?
Yeah, you should follow me on Twitter. I'm also on Nostr. You can find me at Niftynei. Also follow Bitcoin Plus Plus. We have a great YouTube channel that has all of our past content, or as much of our past content from our past 7 events, 8 to come soon. And then, I'm on the internet. You can also send me an email at nifty@btcpp.dev. I'd love to hear what you're up to and what you're thinking about in Bitcoin.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and coming to Presidio Bitcoin. Please come whenever you would like.
Great. Yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.